Hey everyone, Rob from Southgate Media Group here. Before we get started with this podcast, we have a quick message. If this is your first time checking out the show, we love that you found us and we really hope you enjoy it. What we have to say is for the subscribers. If you enjoy our shows, would you please donate to help keep these going? We don't want to have to put traditional ads on these shows, but this does cost money. So we really do rely heavily on donations. To make a donation to the show, please go to our website, www.southgatemediagroup.com. Go to the page for the show, and in the upper right-hand corner is a donate button. It takes you right to PayPal, and you can donate whatever amount you want. Thanks a lot for listening, everybody. And now on with the show.
System. We have tons of comic books to discuss that happened over the season one, the hiatus between season 1 and season 2, and we have, of course, casting update news. And I believe Ricky has some theory crafting he wants to get off of his chest.
Oh man, so much. But we'll get to that when we get to that.
So let's just start with the very first issue, which is a series of 4. It takes a village.
Which was great.
Well, it kind of was, but it kind of wasn't.
I wasn't a fan, if I'm perfectly honest, of the Haitians comic books.
He's starting some controversy already.
I know, right? I like the Haitian, but I don't know. Maybe it's just the voodoo stuff that kind of takes me out of it. But yeah. So the first one is all I've got in my notes is it's the Haitian backstory and it's the first use of his powers. That's all I have to say about it. So yeah, I can go into quick trivia unless you've got anything that you want to say about the first issue.
Not really. It was just, I think the
Fair
whole
enough.
summer it was just behind the scene pictures, but this one specifically I think was like basically the Petrelli family, aka Nathan, well, Adrian Pasdar, Hayden Panettiere, and Milo Ventimiglia. So yeah, that's probably all we're gonna get.
The trivia for the first one is It Takes a Village Part 1 is largely influenced by voodoo. Guillaume, that's how I'm going to pronounce the father of the Haitian, is a Hongan of his village, believed to have been chosen by Loa. When confronted with danger, Guillaume says, I walk with Legba and Ogon. I am really destroying these words. I lay with Samara and Delun. In an interview, Joe Kelly states that It Takes a Village series takes place about 20 years ago, and Guillaume wears the necklace with the symbol on it, identical to the one that his son currently wears. Part 2 is basically, it's kind of a big heroes kind of theme of like fathers and sons, and this one is the Haitian having his father has basically given a choice of choosing his power or his son, and of course being heroes, his father chooses his power over his son. So that's all I've got for part 2.
Ali Larder and Hayden Panettiere for some reason, I don't know
why. Part 3 of It Takes a Village. All I've got in my notes is his father realizing he's lost touch with his people and normality, only living in sin. He blames his son and then once again chooses his power. In the trivia, in voodoo traditions, the crossroads is where the earth and the spirit world meet. In the 1974 film The House on Skull Mountain, it had a similar Haitian setting to the crossroads. And in Israel, there is a set of mountain tombs called Golgotha that has a very similar that has features similar to the skull.
Easter egg was behind. Oh no, it was one of those old promotional that never seen before, but old promotional images of Mr. Bennett and the Haitian. And I just kind of want to say that this series was all penned by Joe Kelly, but we had different artists every single issue. Which, if you're just doing a series, I don't understand why.
I believe part 3 is the one where it started to lose me as well, because it's the one where I think they had the zombies in it, which kind of was just a bit too. It sounds weird, but it was too sci-fi for a sci-fi show.
Well, it's not even sci-fi. Like zombies, like kind of like that weird fantasy kind of like either it's a zombie show or it's not. Do you know what I mean? Like you just can't have everything if you have zombies because it's just so it takes you out of the story. I totally get what you're saying.
And part four is basically Thompson arriving and taking the Haitian to become part of the company. The trivia I've got is in an interview, Joe Kelly says that the ending of the series originally had a much darker ending. I can't think of anything darker than the Haitian joining the company. I'm joking.
I know.
So yeah, that's all I have on It Takes a Village.
Oh, and the Easter egg, of course, was a promotional image of Jessica Sanders.
General, I wasn't a big fan of It Takes a Village. I don't know why. Yeah, I found it a tough read, even though it is only 6 pages. I wasn't a big fan of the artwork as well for some reason. I don't know why. Maybe it's just because of the zombies. Maybe the zombies just left a sour taste in my mouth. Like I like zombie stuff. Like I don't mind The Walking Dead and all that. But it just was a bit too out there, as we've said. So yeah. So the next series was Betty, which I actually quite enjoyed. It is essentially a backstory to Candice, who is our favorite girl with daddy issues. Part one is basically it's just her. Um, it's just her as like an emo outsider with only one friend, and they're both picked on it. It's just them trying to avoid like being bullied by other people, and it's Candice hiding out in a toilet and hearing everyone like joke about her, and it's got her first manifestation of her powers. So yeah, what did you think of it?
I thought this was like, I don't know, like Spider-Man esque.
Yeah.
I guess just so emo. I just
Oh, you mean Spider-Man 3?
such an outsider and nobody understands me, and I'm just like, ugh, like just ugh. I do not read comic books for that crap.
The trivia I've got for it is Comicraft used black text boxes with red borders and white text for Betty. This was the first case of a previously unused style of text. No indication as to the reason for why it was used is noted, so that's weird. And Ryan Odegawa used some of his friends as models for the cheerleaders, football players, and students in the Betty story arc. He modeled one of the students for Betty Part 1 after himself, which is kind of weird. If
Oh, self
I
insert,
know it's
worst.
kind of weird because they're technically kind of the bad guys in this, but he's just putting all his friends in it.
Oh well, this was actually a good Easter egg. I think I still have this one somewhere. It was one of the behind the scene images of Sunil and Greg Grunberg
I wonder why you still got that somewhere.
from the opening previously on Heroes without saying it was previously on Heroes scene from season one. I mean season two, the opening. Yeah, it's that picture.
Part two is basically Betty getting her own back and wanting approval from her friend Ren. That's weird. And it just shows how rumors spread and turns people into bad guys. There's also a weird bit where they reference Matthew Foxcute, which is really kind of dated now, I think, anyway. The trivia is the cars depicted in the parking lot scene were modeled on the artist's own Scion TC and his friend's Pontiac Solstice. And Betty Part 2,
What? No, 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 no Nissan versus and
no,
cubes.
no Nissan Versa, no cubes, and no rogues as well. Betty Part 2 is the graphic novel to feature whisper bubbles, dashed lines around the text bubbles, and text boxes with green shadowing.
The Easter egg was a picture of Jack Coleman, Hayden Panettiere, and Alan Arkush, which is a frequent writer under. Well, he directed a couple of episodes of Heroes, so yeah.
Part 3 is Betty revealing herself, not in that way, but like revealing her powers to her friend Ren and seemingly rejected by the one person she respects the most. And there's no trivia for that, but I actually quite liked it. It's your usual kind of rejection kind of scene. Like I think he even dies like that he when she uses her powers with him. So yeah. Is there no Easter egg?
It was a behind the scenes image of Milo Ventimiglia.
Do you still have that one as well?
No, because it wasn't him shirtless.
Part four is a bit like the movie Carrie, only at the end, it doesn't end in murder. It just ends in everyone realizing that something weird's going on, and it's Candice moving on, changing her appearance, and moving on to what we assume is the company. The trivia is just more Comicraft features. It's a loudspeaker bubbles, which are spiderweb style solid line text bubbles. And again, they don't know why they used it.
Okay, so this one is. I think why it was a little more coherent is that they actually had the same person write the story, which is Joe Casey, and the same person do the art for all issues, which was Ryan Adagawa. So yeah, I think that's why this was a little more cohesive, and everybody can relate to a bully, so it's a little more relatable than zombies.
Exactly.
And the behind the scenes image was for Masaoka, so yeah,
Yeah, why not?
they're getting a little, they're getting.
The next one we have up is Golden Handshake. So part one is well, the basic gist of the story is Claude and his first partner, someone called Haram, and it's being told in like a past tense. It's being told as if Claude is giving his of end of a job kind of interview type thing where he's saying how the investigation was handled and why it's happened the way it did. So it starts with the basic gist is Haram's first case comes back to haunt him. The one person who got away, someone who could touch people and take all the water out of them. She's come back. Oh, sorry, well not. Well, you've read it, but he's come back and it's just them trying to get to capture this guy finally, and Haram's always going on about this being his last case, and at the end of it, it ends up with them being double crossed. And the only trivia, it's just a personal vendetta story, basically. And the only trivia I have is a golden handshake is a severance agreement offered to an employee as an inducement for early retirement. In an interview, Duncan Relou added, "We felt that Claude's handshake, his word, was as good as gold to Haram."
More pictures of Hayden Panettiere and Jack Coleman. Okay.
Part two is Claude. Basically, Claude makes a choice to save his partner and not capture the target. And we also find out that the girl is actually the target and not the guy who they've always believed it to be. That choice of Claude's choosing to save his partner and not capture the target comes back to haunt him kind of in a later issue.
He's pulled an Oliver Queen, has he?
Exactly. The trivia I've got is An American in Paris is a 1928 composition by George Gershwin. He wrote the piece as an impression of an American visitor in Paris as he absorbs the French atmosphere.
Another image of Masaoka for the Easter egg. I think it was the same team of story writers. Like we had two, Stephen T. Siegel and Duncan Rouleau, and then the art was by Tim Grummett through this whole thing too.
Part three, Haram is determined that this is going to be his last case. He wants to go out on a high, but it's obvious that he's losing control of the situation. So the trivia I have is it's nicknamed the City of Light since 1828. It was the first it was the first city in Europe to brilliantly light its main boulevards with gas street lamps along its Champs-Élysées Avenue. The French phrase sacré-cœur, of course I'm going to absolutely butcher that word, exclaimed by one of the hotel residents, literally means Sacred Heart. The Basilica of the Sacred Heart is a famous location in Paris, and this is the first graphic novel to be presented in an animated video format as well as a normal graphic novel format. Did you see the animated format?
Never. I have no clue what they're talking about. The DC was kind of a cluster pack of bumbles at over that particular summer. So
Okay. I can only imagine like the animated video format literally just being the
it's like those old Flash cartoons.
yes, that's exactly what I was thinking of.
The Easter egg for this is a behind the scenes image of Zachary Quinto and Ellen Green. I could, for the life of me, it must have been like from a deleted scene because it just doesn't look familiar.
Part four, like I said before, it's come back to haunt him. The partner chooses the target to capture and not Claude, like as in not saving Claude. His partner Haram goes off script and kills instead of bagging the suspect, and once again he's double crossed. After covering up for him, Haram retires after telling him that he'll give it 6 months. The trivia I've got for this is, as with the previous 3 parts, the story is told as a backdrop to the details in Claude's report for the company. In trying to get Haram not to retire immediately, Claude tells Haram he can fix this all in the report, fudge the facts a little. Whether Claude actually did fudge the facts is uncertain, as is whether the novel accurately depicts the actual events or is just what is written in the report. It is not detailed as to what exactly Claude is delivering in his final report on the mission. However, it is mentioned Claude has already met Noah Bennett, and that occurred in the first time in 1991. Also, based on Claude's reaction to Haram's retirement, it is much sooner than the 6 months to which they agreed. The events of Claude referring to Rollo Forsaw's accomplice as a witch, her telling Claude she will get him next, and being dehydrated into dust appear to parallel the story of the Wizard of Oz.
Another picture of Masai Oga for the Easter egg. I think it was from him being in feudal Japan, if I remember right.
So do you have any thoughts on this issue, or shall we just move on to the next?
I like the first 3 issues a lot because we're in Europe and it kind of opens up the scope and the scale of the storytelling in the graphic novel. I know Hannah was like traveling the world, but that was kind of boring because I'm not really into that. So this one was better because, well, it's Paris and I have a special place. And then when we get to Primatech and we kind of hear grumbles about Noah and all that stuff too, so it was pretty cool.
Next up, we have heroism. Heroism? Heroism is found in the heart, and it is an Ando-centric story. It's only 2 issues. The first part is basically Ando return. This is after Ando's been brought back to Japan. He's been asked to take over Hiro's position in the cubicle, and it's just him trying to woo over Kimiko. That's right, I said woo. The trivia I've got for this: it is uncertain when exactly the events occur, but Hiro dropped off Ando at Yamagato Industries on November the 8th, 2006, Japan time. So they must be sometime after that date. And it is unclear how the effects depicted in the graphic novel occur in the new timeline as of orientation.
Easter egg was a behind the scenes image of Missy. This art was done by Ryan Ogadawa again.
Who was the story by? Do you know?
Christopher Zada.
So part 2 basically is Ando standing up to people even though he doesn't have powers. Much like, obviously it's kind of a parallel to him trying to stand up to Sylar, but it's with biker gangs, with samurai swords, which I'm sure happens all the time in Japan. And the issue ends with Kato actually being the hero, but allowing Ando to take the credit. So yeah.
Paralleling a hero story.
Exactly. The only bit of trivia I have is Ando hopes his relationship with Kimiko becomes romantic like Keanu Reeves and Sandra Bullock. Keanu Reeves and Sandra Bullock were in 2 films together, Speed and The Lake House. In both movies, their characters fall in love with each other after going through intense circumstances together. The plot of Speed, in particular, is similar to Heroism is in the Heart because of the high adrenaline chase that brings the two closer. Yeah, I know, right?
Only because it's Ando did I even make it through this second time. I mean, save the romantic sappy cut for the TV show. That's not what people read graphic novels for the most part.
We are on our last graphic novel. Part 1 is I've got no trivia for any of these, so I'm just going to go through my breakdown of the comics. The part 1 is basically Mahinda on a journey to find special people, and he's trying to help them either learn how to use their powers or help cure them if they have the virus, which hasn't been named yet, but we will name it now, the Shanti virus. It's just an issue where he's trying to help out a character, and in the background, if you look, you see someone arriving with a Primatech suitcase, and that is episode 1. Do you have any thoughts on it?
Well, we finally get the art back to being somebody from like kind of the AKA, quote unquote original run, Jason Badawer, doing the art, and it kind of shows the shading. I like the artwork in this one. It's like back to basics of what we're grown accustomed to.
So I think especially because of the whole blackout thing, like the colors that he chooses are really good. But yeah.
The Easter egg was behind the scene image of Adair Tischler, aka Molly Walker, and Sunil, of course. So yeah, I think it's the picture of him putting the blanket over her.
Part 2 has the patient, I'll call him because we never really get his name. It's him basically feeling lots of guilt for killing people because of his powers, and he doesn't want to be saved. It ends with Mahinda essentially saving the patient from killing himself.
The Easter egg was an image of Eric Avari, which is, of course, the guy that plays Chandra Suresh, aka Papa Suresh.
So that's enough of the comics. Let's move on to Heroes Reborn. Yay!
Oh, so much good.
So yeah, the first thing we will touch on is Raya Kilstead, the mother from, well, I say mother, but the woman who is in the last season of Dexter, who plays the woman who created Dexter, is in it. And we've talked about this already, but I wanted her to kind of play against type because, she was playing that kind of morally grey character, but we've seen pictures of her and she's in a suit, so who knows? She might be playing something to do with Jack Coleman, maybe love interest. Who knows?
No, no love interest.
Do you have any thoughts on Raya Kilstead?
Not really. Like the older people probably kind of sort of are only in the background outside of Jack Coleman. I think. You know what I mean? So it's going to probably be all about the young kids.
I think we also said originally that they seem like that they were trying to equal out the quota of young to old people with some of the casts, with her casting as well. So maybe that is the way that they're going. So they had the upfronts, and before the upfronts, we got 3 new pictures of from Heroes Reborn. One of them was HRG looking like he was landing from flying or something like that. I'm not saying that he was, but he was in some kind of wind tunnel because his jacket was flying, and he looked really perturbed. We also have Kiki Suzani with Hero's sword. She's lifting it up in the air. And we have Zachary Levi's character with a gun pointing it at the screen. So, yes. We learned that Kiki's character name is Miko Otomo. And we found out that Zachary Levi's character is called Luke Collins. Did you see the pictures?
Oh, yeah.
Loads of people who watched Chuck were going on about Zachary Levi with a gun because obviously in Chuck he doesn't like guns and he always had like the tranquilizer gun, but obviously he likes guns now and he's no longer a nerd because he has a beard or stubble. So yeah. Next up we have something that I'm sure you will like. We have the great Greg Grunberg returning. Hopefully there's no more poor Parkman. Hopefully it's good Parkman. So yeah.
You better be BAMF Parkman, I swear to goodness.
I totally agree. Especially like with like how his character, I think, we've obviously talked about his character being stepped upon quite a lot in the first season, and we'll talk more about his character in the second to fourth season. But I'm hoping with the returning cast that it goes to kind of how it was with the company founders and their kids. They kind of, you've got the older generation kind of teaching the newer generation, or at least, able to use their powers a lot better than the newer generation. So yeah.
I don't know. I don't think the heroes would have been the same without at least a couple of them. And I think he might. Yeah. It looks like we're almost going towards that 5 years gone kind of timeline.
Yes. Yeah.
Because you'll get to it, but a certain other someone is back too. Well,
exactly.
A couple of them. So it's just like.
So we can't talk about Matt Parkman returning without talking about Mahinda Suresh returning. So yeah. So hopefully they are still together. Or no, sorry. Hopefully they. No, I think they needed to have Mahinda returning because who else would do the opening narrations? I know that they had Samuel doing it a lot in the 4th season, but I read somewhere that Robert Knepper is not returning. He said it at a Q&A in Bucharest or something like that. But then again, Mahinda said before that he didn't know if he was going to return, and the same with Greg. So you never know, but I think moment,
I think that the Greg thing came from a lot of pressure from the fans, honestly, because that literally came out of nowhere. So
yeah.
Robert Napier, season 4, because of that particular character, like that's kind of a very ask 50 fans of Heroes if they like that character, and you'll get 50 different answers kind of thing. Whereas it's like either you hate Matt Parkman or you love him. Like there's literally no in between, and most people tend to love him because he is that everyman character, and he went through such an extraordinary, character arc over the series. You just kind of can't leave him out.
We have another returning character, and I really am looking forward to this one. We have Micah returning, who is hench. Sorry, he is buff now. He is huge.
If you see that, what episode was it where we kind of said if Micah returned that he was gonna be the new Mr. Linderman, and if that turns out to be true, I'm gonna lose it. I'm gonna totally lose it.
That episode was the second Molly Walker one where we were talking about it, I believe. Oh no, it might have been one that we just edited or has just been released. But yeah, where we talked about Micah being the new big bad. If that happened, we called it first. So yeah, we actually talked about Micah being a villain in episode 15 of our podcast, which, you know, hopefully that will come true and the producers are listening to us and will give us a job. I'm joking. What do you think about Micah returning?
I was really happy, because I mean he is kind of sort of part of that generation, that new generation that they're trying to craft, and I think that's definitely a really another great bridge. Like we have, Jack Coleman's character for like the older people, but now we have Micah for the younger kind of generation, and he has really great power to kind of help people hide and all this stuff because I mean in this day and age literally I mean everything's online, and so that's a really helpful kind of power, and it's going to be really interesting to see what they do with him.
Also, another thing to think about is with Mahinder, and this is off topic again, but with Mahinder and Greg coming back, who knows? Maybe we'll find Molly Walker again. Who knows? Maybe.
If this does good, I could see them bringing Adair Tischler back, because she kind of had it was a weird kind of situation, and I think they kind of need to rectify that. And is she
Yeah.
not? She's not doing anything, right? Besides school, maybe.
Yeah, I think she's going off to college now, which they both are. They both should be doing at least anyway.
Honestly, Molly was the one that kept, Matt kind of honest, especially in season 2. So it's just like I would look forward to seeing a reunion like that.
We also have some new castings that have been announced. Dylan Bruce from Orphan Black has just been cast. I think they kept that on the down low for a while because obviously he was still in Orphan Black, but you know, stuff happened in Orphan Black. No spoilers.
Every week, son.
Yeah.
Oh,
But
but I know him as the guy from As the World Turns. Like I was talking about that with somebody, and so that's like a soap star, and they're like, "Yeah." And then I don't watch Orphan Black. I know that guy. And I'm like,
I was looking at there was a trailer analysis done by Teresine. I think that's how you pronounce it. Basically, it's what happened was there was an upfront sizzle reel where like all the new shows were like dancing along to a song or something like that, and one of them is HRG dancing in front of like a cork board with like lots of stuff behind him. And I was really looking at that, and if you look closely, there is actually a picture of Dylan Bruce there, and it's been there the whole time. So that was, I'm surprised I didn't spot that in the first time.
he's like, I was looking at that on our Tumblr, like the screen grab or whatever, and it's like, dude, our fans are so obsessive. Like Heroes fans are so obsessive. I love it.
She like Tersine was like reading like what was written, and like it was obviously just like enlarging it to see what was written properly. But yeah, they really went in depth into it. Another casting announcement is Nazine Contractor. I believe she is from, I don't know, Covert Affairs. She was in the last season of Covert Affairs. Also, I've been looking on her. Sorry, I've been also looking on her Instagram quite a lot because she always posts on her Instagram, and she's always been hashtagging the name Farah Nazan. So obviously, I asked her, "Is that the character's name?" And without, she had no qualms about it. She just said, "Yeah." So we've got her name as well. Next up, we have someone called Jake Manley. He hasn't been officially confirmed, but he did send out a tweet with the Heroes Reborn announcement saying he was glad to be working on the show. And also Zachary Levi just did another selfie with like most of the cast, and I can see him in it. So I'm assuming that he has been cast. I think he's going to have something to do with the Gatling Green character and maybe the Danica Urash character. I think they're all going to be in school together. Another big return is old trombone shot himself. Greg Beeman's coming back to direct episode 2 at least. Next up, we've got stuff from the upfronts. So IGN IGN, like basically they released a sizzle reel or a trailer for Heroes Reborn at the upfronts for NBC, but they haven't posted it online. But IGN did a breakdown of it, and so I'm going to read through what they said. So we know that the show is going to be on Thursdays at 8 p.m. The date is still to be TBC, but I'm assuming it's going to happen sometime in September. Yes. Specials are now known as Evos. There's case. Oh, do we not like that?
Definitely don't.
I kind of like it. What name would you have given people with powers? Would you have just called them specials?
Evos. Like Evo sounds like we're playing like Battlefield 4 or something.
I We're gonna go back into my RPG days, but one time I wrote a heroes fic for like 20 years in the future, and I named like superheroes like abs, as in like abnormals. So I quite like that, but then it makes them seem like they're stomach muscles. So yeah, maybe not. Next up, we have case files which explain the missing heroes. So we've got Mahinda. He has been labeled a terrorist, and we have a picture of a memorial with Claire's name on it. So obviously, well, not obviously, but she seems to be dead, which might explain why she's not in it. But who knows? Maybe she'll pop up at the end. Next up, we have the knowledge that Zachary Levi's character, Luke Collins, seems to be the antagonist. He's basically in the trailer. He's in like an AA type meeting, and they're all talking about people with powers, and he says something and then just starts shooting them. But also in that same clip, you can see Judith Sacconi's character in the background. So it's obvious that them two are aligned in some way, shape, or form. We also get the knowledge that Future Hero is going to be in it. Whether or not he's actually going to be Future Hero for the whole thing, I don't know. So yeah, someone else has the power of flight, but it seems like they can't control it because they're chained to like a big ball and chain, and the guy chops off his hand and just shoots right into the sky. There is an HRG call to action moment. He's given a manila envelope and opens it to find a pair of horn-rimmed glasses inside. I'll put a link to the article when we put this episode up. We also have Tercene's trailer analysis, which again I've said before is from a picture of a screen cap of the sizzle reel with like all the new heroes and stuff, like all the new shows, like characters from the new shows dancing and stuff. So they've basically taken this screenshot and exploded it up to see what everything says. So I'm just going to go through that quickly. First up, we have a flyer for a summit, Humans and Evos Together in Peace. The summit takes place in June 13th. In the line between that, you can make out "We Can Live Together," and there is more illegible text, but there's also the God Said symbol. To the right, we have notes saying Senator Fahey and the June 13th summit. It looks like Fahey's name is on the flyer, so regardless of the stance, they must be important. To the lower left, there is a note saying protests in US. Above that, what seems to be during or after the process, with dark-clothed figures standing over people laying in the ground. Dark-clothed figures, which also is in one of the pictures. I saw like the Shaw up fronts. They put like a quick trailer up. It's literally like really quick, but you see people in dark clothes who look kind of like ninjas. So Lilith, we're getting ninjas.
Yay.
There is also a sign on the ground. To the left, there is a picture of a person behind them with a sign that says Evos are the enemy. The person is crossed out in red, so they may be dead. In the lower right, this is basically all of Tercene's own thoughts. So yeah, take it with a pinch of salt, but they've gone into really in-depth stuff. The lower right, you have two pictures. It thinks it's an interior of a church. Second is that of a person spray painted with a sign saying "God hates Evos." So obviously, religion's going to play a big factor now. Yay! There's a section devoted to the police. On the far left, there is a picture of Matt Parkman. Below that, there is a headshot of a man in a suit, and I believe that is the picture of Dylan Bruce. And then there's also the name James Deering, police captain. We have no idea if that is Dylan Bruce's name. There's also mention of Evo bounty hunters and who's killing Evos. Odessa, Texas is mentioned, and that is about it. There's a massive piece of paper saying Mahinda Suresh mastermind. So obviously there is something going on in this whatever future or present day thing. There is something going on between humanity and people with powers. So what do you think about all these pieces of information from the trailer and Tersine's little breakdown?
It's shaping up to be interesting, but if they're really ninjas, like that's just a notch too far for me. Like, I don't know. Like, we always complained about heroes not being action packed enough, but I think ninjas is jumping the shark.
But say the ninjas are like, just saying the ninjas are like trained by Hiro Nakamura. Does that make it any better?
Only if like he's leading them, like with the sword, with the soul patch. That's the only way that this makes everything okay.
Fair enough. And that's basically all the information we have. What theory crafting did I have?
I thought you had some. I mean, what do you get out of it, I guess?
I don't know. I think that I think that future that they've always known in Heroes has never changed. It doesn't matter how many times they changed it. It always ends up being the same thing with like heroes being hunted by humans. And that's basically what we're going to get in this series. It's going to be 5 years forwards. It has to be 5 years forward because they cast Micah again. I think it's going to be set pretty much present day, but it's also going to be jumping about in time with future hero. That's what I think is going to be happening.
Here's the thing, though, about, Evos versus humans. There's Evos that can do some really crazy stuff. As we saw in, 5 Years Gone, there's people that can suck the air out of the whole room and kill everybody. Yeah. So, the humans really should probably try... They should be the main ones trying to coexist in peace as not to tick off the overlords at this. I've never really understood that story.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I totally understand. They should be bowing down to their masters. No, I'm joking.
I think it just takes somebody maybe the Zachary Levi character to be that Magneto and go, you know what? We're going to rise up and crush our oppressors. And I'd totally be okay with that. Because, the haves and the have-not situation it never ends good.
I don't think he's going to have powers, though. I think Zachary Levi is a human and he's one of these bounty hunters. But maybe, you never know. He might get a power because surprise. you know how heroes love a good old cliffhanger. So yeah, maybe that will be the end of episode 5. I'm going to go with episode 5. Zachary Levi has a power and has been keeping it secret the whole time. Remember, you heard it here first. Yeah. So if you have any news or want to know any of the news, we always update our Twitter as soon as we find out anything. Our Twitter is Primatech Files. Just email us at Primatech Files.
Also, please remember that if you have an iTunes account, rate, review, subscribe, and download the podcast because streaming is not.
Yes, download the podcast.
But if you don't have iTunes, there's a ton of other ways to listen.
Yeah, you can find us on Libsyn. Just follow our Twitter and you'll be updated as much as you want. We've got Libsyn, we've got SoundCloud, and we've got a Stitcher. You might not find all the episodes, but they are going up bit by bit. Download the podcast, save the world.